Ever wonder how a spaceship actually navigates to the moon? Or how your phone's GPS gives you that nice smooth dot on the map, even though the raw signals are a mess? Well, the answer to both lies in this absolutely brilliant piece of logic, designed specifically to find a clear signal in a world that's just full of noise. So let's dive into the Kalman filter, seriously one of the most important algorithms ever created. All right, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to tackle the huge problem of noisy data. Then, we'll get into the elegant two-step dance that's at the filter's core. We'll see how it smartly balances its own guesses with what's actually happening in reality, explore its incredible world-changing applications, and finally really get why you could call it an algorithm for truth. Okay, so before we can even talk about the solution, we have to really understand the problem it solves. And this isn't some abstract, theoretical thing. No, it's a challenge that affects pretty much every piece of technology we use, every single day. I mean, think about it. Every single sensor, whether it's a simple thermometer or the super complex guidance system on a spacecraft, has flaws. They're all subject to random noise and little inaccuracies. So the big question is, how can we possibly trust any of them to give us the real picture of what's going on? This visual just nails the problem perfectly. That dotted red line, that's what our sensors are actually telling us. It's all over the place, totally chaotic. But hidden somewhere inside that mess is the solid black line. That's the true path, what's really happening. So the challenge is this. How do you find that smooth, true line when all you have to work with are those messy, noisy dots? And this, right here, is where the genius of the Kalman filter comes into play. It's this amazing algorithm that takes in a whole stream of those messy, imperfect measurements over time and, well, it fuses them together. And the result? You get an estimate of what's happening that is way more accurate than any single one of those measurements could ever hope to be on its own. Let's make this super concrete with a great analogy. Imagine a truck. It has two systems to figure out where it is. First, you've got a GPS. It gives pretty accurate data, but the readings jump around a lot. That's our noisy signal. Then you have dead reckoning, which just uses wheel turns and steering angle. That gives you a beautifully smooth path, but tiny little errors build up over time, and it starts to drift away from reality. The job of the Kalman filter is to brilliantly combine the best of both. So how in the world does it actually do that? Well, the answer is found in the algorithm's core, a simple but just profoundly powerful two-step loop. This diagram shows you the entire secret sauce in one beautiful loop. The filter starts with a guess. From there, it predicts where the truck, or whatever, is going to be next. Then it takes a new measurement from the real world, from the GPS. And here's where the magic happens, in the update step. It compares its prediction to that real-world measurement and creates a new, better, more accurate estimate. And then, the whole cycle just starts all over again, inching closer to the truth each and every time. Let's just break that down one more time. First, you predict. The filter uses a model of how things should work, like the laws of motion, to guess what's next. Then, you measure. It takes an actual reading from a sensor, like the GPS. And finally, you update. It blends that prediction and that measurement together to get a new, improved best guess. And then you just repeat that, over and over again. And here is what makes it a total game changer. The algorithm is recursive. This makes it incredibly efficient. See, it doesn't need to remember and reprocess every measurement it's ever taken. Nope. All it needs is its last best guess and the brand new measurement. That's it. And that's exactly why it can run in real time, even on seriously simple computers. Okay, so this leads to the most important question, right? How does the filter decide how much to listen to its own prediction versus how much to listen to that new, noisy measurement? This is where the real elegance is. The secret is a weighted average. The filter is smart. It doesn't just blindly average the two. It weighs them based on how certain it is about each one. So if the filter is really confident in its prediction and it knows the sensor's kind of jumpy, it'll mostly just stick with its prediction. But if its own prediction is a bit shaky and the sensor is known to be super accurate, it's going to pay a lot more attention to that new data. This whole system, this trust style, actually has a name, the Kalman Gain. It's a value that the filter calculates at every single step. Think of it as controlling just how much it should trust the new information coming in. And the Kalman Gain isn't some fixed number, it's dynamic. It's constantly adjusting based on how certain the filter feels. And, tuning this gain is a real balancing act. If you set a high gain, the filter's super responsive to new data, which is great, but it can make the final result look a little jumpy, kind of like that raw GPS data.
If you set a low gain, the filter trusts itself more, which gives you a much smoother result, but it might be slow to react to real changes and could even drift off course. The magic of the Kalman Gain is that it finds that perfect balance all on its own.
So now that we get the concept, let's talk about the wow factor. Let's look at just how massive of an impact this simple, elegant piece of logic has had on our world. Because honestly, the applications are just astonishing. So where did this idea even come from? Well, it all started bubbling up around the late 50s and early 60s. And while it's named for Rudolf Kalman, who published a huge paper on it in 1960, a lot of credit also goes to people like Peter Swirling and Richard Busey. It was truly an idea whose time had come. Today, the Kalman filter is, well, it's everywhere, usually working invisibly in the background. It is absolutely essential for guiding and navigating basically anything that moves. Airplanes, spacecraft, ships, you name it. It's used in robotics for planning motion, in economics to analyze financial data, and get this, even in neuroscience to model how our own brains seem to control movement. But its most legendary application, the one for the history books, was during the Apollo program. As one of the engineers, Jack Crenshaw, pointed out, just getting this incredibly powerful algorithm to run on the spacecraft's tiny computer was, well, it was nothing short of remarkable. It was the Kalman filter that took all those noisy navigation readings and produced the pinpoint accurate trajectories they needed to get to the moon and back safely. And when we say a tiny computer, we mean it. The Apollo guidance computer had just 2 kilobytes of RAM. That's not megabytes, not gigabytes, kilobytes. The fact that an algorithm this powerful and this essential was so unbelievably efficient that it could run in that tiny amount of space, that's a testament to its brilliant design. It's just mind-blowing. All right, so let's bring it all home. Let's reinforce the core takeaway here. What makes this algorithm so fundamentally powerful? In the end, it all comes back to this one beautiful idea. The Kalman filter gives us a powerful, systematic way to deal with uncertainty. It just accepts the fact that both our models of the world and our measurements of it are going to be flawed. And by continuously looping through this cycle of predicting, measuring, and updating, it lets us get closer and closer to an estimate of reality that's just plain better than any single source of information could ever be. And that leaves us with a final, big thought. This elegant logic, predict, then update based on new evidence, it isn't just for tracking trucks or spacecraft. Think about financial forecasting or climate modeling. In a world that is just saturated with noisy, uncertain data, what other complex problems could we understand better just by applying this simple, powerful loop?